Good morning. Good morning. My name is Michael Anthony, and I'm here with the lovely Selena Bryan, my co-host. Welcome to the first ever and many exciting Turn It Up live radio shows here on WDAP Radio. Selena, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be a part of Turn Up Productions right here in Western New York.
Yeah, absolutely. We are excited. So, Selena, why don't you just tell our listeners why we do what we do?
Definitely. So, Turn Up Productions was created and designed to educate and empower youth starting at age 12 years old, to adulthood. Our goal is to impact our students spiritually, physically, and socially.
Okay. Yeah, and I think, that is our goal. That's what we want to do. That's where we want to end up. I truly believe, just based off of our goals, is to be impactful spiritually, physically, and socially, because I believe that covers the whole holistic aspect of a person. So, Selena, just a question for you. What's going to make us different from any other support group?
That's a great question. Now, our goal is to service the needs of the whole person, not just one facet, as many programs do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why we put our program together the way that we are, because we're going to be unique from that aspect and different. So yeah, I'm excited. I know you're excited. I'm excited, and we got a good host of teams behind us, and we're ready to rock and roll here in Western New York. So Turn It Up is excited. We're excited for being here, being a part of this radio station. So yeah, let's get it on.
Definitely. Now we have the airwaves here. What do you want to talk about today, Michael?
Whatever you want to talk about, Selena.
Great, and I like to hear that. Let's talk about this man behind the mask. That can have a lot of meanings to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I really don't want to talk about it, but however, I know that I have to, and it's going to be very important for me to get my story out on this show today, because it's going to lead us into some great things and be impactful to a lot of people.
No, completely understandable. So let's start early on. Let's start with childhood for you and some of your challenges as a child.
Well, childhood, very interesting. A very calm household. There was not a lot of drama. Not a whole lot of noise. Actually, it was very, very calm. We had a lot of toys. Christmas, birthday. My mom really spoiled us from that aspect. We had toys all over the place. I played a lot outside in the streets, right in front of the house, and we also went to church a lot, more than I wanted to, but. We went to church every Sunday, 3 services on a Sunday, and Wednesday nights as well. So church was a very vital and important part of my growing up as a child. On the flip side of that, there was hardly no communication, really not that much bonding between us at all. My father was an alcoholic and a drug user, and that impacted us a lot. He was really out in the streets a lot, so he was hardly ever home. My mother, she was a very calm woman, but unexpressive at the same time. So emotionally, I really didn't know what was going on inside of her, and then my brother, he had some mental issues. He was diagnosed as borderline retarded. And so she focused in on a lot of his issues, and I was kind of like in the background. So yeah, that was pretty much my childhood that I can remember.
Now that's a lot going on in the childhood. So moving forward, what was it like being a teenager? I know with Turn It Up Productions, we're going to be working with the youth a lot. So we got to know about you and what you went through as a teenager.
Wow. As a as a teenager, excuse me. Well, I know that we went back home, and home was Wilmington, Delaware, and we went every summer. We went back home, and we stayed the whole summer, and we didn't come back until like the end of August, to where school was going to start. But I loved it. I had opportunity to go back and spend time with my family, my cousins, my uncles, my aunts, and I had friends back home. And also, it was the first time that I actually, where I experienced my first kiss, and had my first girlfriend. So I had a long distance relationship with a young lady as a teenager. Her name was Miracle, and that was cool. That was cool. I spent not a lot of nights out with friends at friends' house. I spent the night out. Really didn't want to be home because there was nothing going on. So I remember just spending the night out with a lot of the neighborhood kids at their house. Then I played a lot of organized sports. Football, basketball. And so, that was very exciting, to do as well. So, on the negative side of that, as a teenager, I was almost molested by one of the neighborhood young adults that I grew up with and actually played sports with him. He attacked me as I was delivering newspapers one day at his house. And thank God I was able to get away from that situation. But I remember as I was running back to the house, scared, when I got to the door of my home, I never told my parents because the communication was not in the house. So I didn't really feel, I didn't feel freely that I could really speak because there was a lot of silence in the house. And again, as far as education-wise, I was just an average student. My mother didn't, really push. They just said, hey, as long as you don't fail, C's was okay. I was never propelled to get A's and B's. In some cases I did, but a lot of education just wasn't a very important part of my growing up. Just pass, don't fail. I stole a lot from my friend's house, things that I didn't have, things that my mother didn't provide for me. I ended up, stealing from my friend's house and, taking things that didn't belong to me. Outside of that, I also had the opportunity to, unfortunately, experience sex for the first time from an adult woman. I babysitted her son, and she took advantage of me and opened me up to sex. And then, I started drinking and started smoking marijuana. So I was a very, liberal kid. I was out there, from that perspective. So, that was my teenage life.
Wow. Now, that is a lot going on, and I know certain parts of your story, there's a lot of people that can relate to that, during that time period in their life.
Right.
So after you've been through all of that, how did you step into your young adulthood years?
Well, I started a career in banking. I was very successful. Just kind of worked my way up in the banking industry because I like business, and I thought I was just intrigued by the whole banking aspect. Actually, Selena, I wanted to go where the money was, and so it was, so I did that. The thing that I did have the opportunity to experience, that I would say that is still impactful to me to this day, is that I had a very good nucleus of friends. It was about 8 of us, and we were neighborhood kids that grew up pretty much without our fathers in the household, and we stuck together like glue. We wore each other's clothes. We looked out for each other financially. We had our issues, of course, our differences and things like that, but those were my brothers, and so that was very important to me. And then from there, it was like, I started, I got my own apartment. So I think I had like 4 apartments, and shared those with some of those guys that I just mentioned. And then I got my degree. And then, I bought some cars, and then I traveled, So I had a pretty good young adulthood on the positive side as far as that's concerned. On the flip side of that, I didn't have relationships with my family. My parents, there was no communication, as I mentioned. We didn't really do things together. So there was no relationship bonding or anything like that took place, as a young adult. I would come by and see my mother every now and then just to check on her to make sure that she was okay. And that was pretty much it. Poor decision making. I did a lot of stupid stuff, to be honest with you. I remember signing up for school, higher education, and then waiting for the student loan money to come in, and then I'd go buy a car or spend it just on clothes and just a lot of poor planning. Actually, no planning at all. So it was just a lot of poor decision makings on relationships. From that aspect. And then, through the course of it, tragedy hit our family. My father and my brother passed away pretty much a year apart from each other. And, it was challenging, but at the same time, there was no emotion behind it, to be honest with you, because I really didn't know how to react. But all I knew that they were gone, so here I am, as a young adult, by myself, as I thought, from that perspective. Social behavior, I was just a party person. I was all over the place, while yet I was trying to establish myself, economically. I was just all over the place, social wise. Went out every night, went out every opportunity that I could to party, and I was drinking a lot at that time as well. So yeah, that was my experience.
Wow, now you had a lot going on by that age.
Yeah.
Now stepping into full adulthood, how did you transition from the young adulthood into the full adulthood?
Well, actually, I really thought that if I got married, that would change my lifestyle. I thought that if I did something different, that it would certainly calm me down and settle me down, and create just a whole nother lifestyle for me. So, pretty much got married, had 3 kids. And also felt that having a spiritual life was going to be very impactful, and that would guide me to becoming a better person, and keep me away from the things that I was doing when I was younger. But the thing that I did not understand, should I say, was that I needed God in my life as opposed to let's just say church. But the spiritual life definitely was impactful. I also, I started to get into investments. I started an investment club. I was always intrigued by the stock market, and being in banking, that was something that was just, in my face all the time. So I started an investment club, and then real estate. I bought 2 houses that I lived in with my family. That was good as far as my early adulthood. On the flip side of that, Selena, as you already know, every relationship comes with problems, and at some point you're going to have to face those issues. And so I started having marital problems. I didn't like the relationship that I was having with my kids. I really felt like they was taking advantage of me. I felt really alone, They were always gone, and just a lot of things that I was going through mentally, as far as, why did I get married? What was the purpose? I was better off being single. So I had a lot of stuff going on inside my head at that particular time. And then the character issues started to come out. I mean, Selena, I was very angry, and I was very expressive about that anger to everybody. I didn't care who you were. I cussed you out. I let you know exactly how I felt. So as, again, like I mentioned earlier, as that young man, as that kid, I was very quiet, very unexpressive, because I didn't know how to express myself. But then, once again, like I said, when I became an adult, all hell broke loose for me personally. I didn't care about life at all. I did try to consider committing suicide once, in my life. From there, it became, where I did not care turned into a legal issue for me that I faced, that I never thought that I would have to face in my life. And I ended up getting charged for fraud. And I was facing 2 years in federal prison. I ended up getting 1 year probation for something that I couldn't prove my innocence on. And that really impacted me. It forced me to take the mask off. No more hiding. They got on the news. People that looked up to me found out about it. It was a very challenging experience for me, and I felt like I was on an island all by myself. And that kind of propelled me. No, I'm not gonna say kind of. It did propel me to wake up, really face the truth that I was hiding behind this mask, and I needed to take that mask off, or I wasn't going to survive. And then I, so that was pretty much it. That's pretty much it.
That is so much. That is so impactful. I mean, I understand how your experiences have inspired you, the good and the bad, to do what you're doing now. And
right.
I know a lot of our listeners can relate to the behind the mask topic. I know I can definitely relate myself. Being younger, I was a tomboy. I was goofy. I was picked on.
Really?
Yeah, you wouldn't think so. I do a lot of fashion in Buffalo now, but I think going through that, along the way, led me to where I ended up. So going through that, I was, hanging out with the wrong crowds. I was very impressionable. I ended up doing 2 years probation time. As I got older, I went through a lot of financial struggles. So it just kind of felt like everything was pushing me down. I ended up going through a very nasty divorce, very drawn out.
Okay.
But I was able to have inspirations in my life and strong influences. I had strong women in my life, my mother, my aunts, my late grandmother. And there was a time where I had lost my spirituality, and I ended up finding it again. And that made such a huge difference in my life.
Right.
So I held on to that, and I found myself, I went off to college. I decided to use what I had went through to help bring confidence to others, and I started getting into behind the scenes with fashion and helping people produce shows and charities, and getting behind a lot of that to just inspire people that don't have somebody there trying to help pick them up.
Exactly.
They're just alone, and they don't know anything else out there. So I'm very excited about being a part of what you're doing here in Western New York, and this is great, and Turn It Up Live is a great way for you guys to listen in on everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I totally agree with you. It's important at the end of the day that we take this mask off, because at some point, as they always say, and you heard this many times before, Selena, you can fool everybody else but yourself.
That's the truth.
You know, and at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, you're looking at you, and you know you. You know, everybody else may not know you and what you're doing or how you feeling, but you know you. You know, and so taking off that mask is very important, especially if you want to go in another direction. If you want another life, you got to take that mask off. And at some point, you're going to be forced to take that mask off, whether it's while you're living or, as my father experienced, just before he died. He didn't get a second chance from that standpoint. And so taking off that mask, listen, it's freedom when you take that mask off. When you can be real with yourself, you can be real with others, and it'll just propel you to reach your highest potential and your goals in life. And I know that many of our listeners out there are struggling, male and female, with having to pretend to live this life based off of not being able to take that mask off and be somebody that you're really not. We all fail. We all fall short of our of purpose, you know. And so based off of that, you know, I just want to tell our listeners that I think it's very important that I share, you know, because obviously this is a very emotional show today. But at the end of the day, I want to leave you with some positives. And here's a few things that I think you should do. After you take that mask off, establish a relationship with God. At the end of the day, He created you. He'll lead you and guide you in the direction that you need to go in. And you will have an opportunity to be successful where you're not hearing from man, but you're hearing from God, the creator of this universe. So I really, really, really encourage you to establish a relationship with God. I think that's very important. The second thing is that seek counseling. Go talk to somebody. Not somebody you know, talk to somebody that you don't know, so that they can hear all of your darkest secrets and issues that you got going on in your life. And at the end of the day, I know that counseling helped me, and it's continuing to help me at the end of the day. And then, of course, you know, the Turn It Up family would love for you to participate in our mentorship program that is going to be happening later on this year. We don't have a date yet, but our mentorship program is going to focus on character building and life skills. We all have character issues, and we all can benefit from either developing life skills, changing life skills, or creating life skills. That's what we're going to do. And so we have put together a great opportunity for our mentorship program to be different from any other program here in Western New York. So you'll be hearing more details about that coming from Selena in a minute. But I just encourage you to listen to our show as many times as you have to. I hope my story has been impactful to somebody that's listening out there, that you can take that mask off and live again.
And I'm glad that our listeners here have had the opportunity to get to know the man behind the mask here, Mr. Michael Anthony. Yep. And now that you guys kind of get an idea of what Turn Up Productions is, you definitely can look for us, www.turnitupproductions.com. That's going to be TURNIT, the letter U, productions.com. And on there you can look at the links to the Facebook, Instagram. You can comment on Twitter, or you can directly contact us at 716-444-0836. And, you know, listen out for details about our next show next month. And we're so happy that you got to share this with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Tune in next time. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Selena, for being here with me today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. To our listeners, have a great, wonderful day and enjoy your weekend. Was that better?
Oh, way better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got rid of some of the ums.
Definitely.
Okay.
You got a lot of ums, and you knew exactly what you want to say without even needing to think about it.
Okay.
So
Good.
it just flowed out a lot easier, and you ad-libbed more, which I liked.
Okay.
In between everything.
Okay.
So it kind of plumped everything out. So we were halfway through, and I was like, I'm glad we read this. I was like, no. Like, what if we don't say what we need to say on the next one?
Right, right.
Yeah, we got it all that way. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and I mean, this thing is going to really blow up because, you know, like, I did this when I was when I went to college.
And we were in the same time.
Yeah, you know. And
Well, not the same time.
Yeah, no.
Same time in our life.
You know, yeah, and I would get on the radio, you know,
I
at
loved
the
it.
college. Yeah, you know.
But you know, the exciting part is when it blew up, because, you know, it was just a college show, and I'd go into town, and people were like, oh, yeah, we turn your show on every time I come, and, like, in stores. And I was like, really? Like, this is the coolest thing ever. So that's when I was like, oh, I love radio.
Yeah, so.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so
And that was a small town, being in Buffalo, like, we'll take it anywhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, here, this is yours.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry.
I'm drinking my coffee, I just finished it. She said you finished it anyway. That's cappuccino, that's why I get it small. That's a lot of sugar.
Yeah, I don't know how y'all drink that stuff.
I'm like, it tastes good.
I didn't know you were married at one time.
Yeah, really.
Okay. Is
The
this your...
divorce itself took 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And is this your daughter's father?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Jason Robinson, a firefighter.
Hmm.
He wasn't then though. He wasn't doing anything then.
Oh, okay. He's a firefighter now?
Yeah.
Okay.
After I left him, he decided to get a job where he made money. I was supporting everything before that. We had a repo car. And as soon as he started working, we got a really nice car back then. We just had Sophia, and then she lost the job for sleeping on the job. We lost the car, got repoed. My credit plummeted, and you know, and then he started cheating and stuff. And he had issues with prostitution, things like that, kept catching on. And
Right.
I was like, I've had enough.
Yeah.
And like one of the reasons I stayed, I just felt guilty to end the marriage.
Right.
Like I felt like it's just the wrong thing to do.
Right,
But I
right.
was like, the reason I got married was because it was the right thing to do.
Right.
Not because of the reasons that people usually get married. It was just
Right.
like, oh, I'm pregnant. Oh, we
Right.
need to get married. Like that's just the next.
Right.
So I was doing it for the wrong reasons to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So everything went downhill. Then he decided to get nasty in court and just keep dragging things out and dragging things out. Almost for kicks and noodles. So,
Did he want the relationship back?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Danny was kind of like brainwashed me.
Uh-huh.
Like people that know me would be like, "You careful," like you know, like
Mhm.
just my whole persona wasn't
Yeah.
joyful or
Okay.
happy.
Because you
or-
seem to be bubbly.
yeah,
like-
that's probably the exact same where people would be like, "You used to be so bubbly. Like what happened?" I was like a ghost.
What sign are you?
I'm a Gemini. It's the number one sign of communication.
Okay.
The most social of the signs.
Gotcha.
What's your sign?
Sag.
Sagittarius. That's the one that I know the least about.
Really?
They are. Sagittarius is the hippies is right sign as far as
Yeah.
love and let love, live and let live.
Yeah.
That's all. Just get along.
Yeah.
You're not gonna try to start conflict.
Yep. Let me go see if I can